"Take her," Papa Joseph said, pointing at his daughter. "She's worth more than any money I owe you." The metal plate slipped from Asha's hands and clattered to the ground. She stared at her father in disbelief. "Papa, what are you saying?" "You heard me. Pack your things. You belong to him now." Kwame's face was frozen with shock. "Papa Joseph, I cannot take your daughter. I only want my wages." "You want payment? There is your payment. Take her or get nothing at all." From the doorway, Beatrice's lips curled in satisfaction. "Yes, take her. She eats too much food anyway." Asha felt the world spin. Her own father was trading her away like a goat at the market. Her eyes found little David, who had stopped playing with his wooden car and was staring in confusion. That morning had begun like any other in Kibira. The red dust swirled around Asha's bare feet as she carried the heavy clay pot back from the well. Her shoulders ached, her hands were cracked from the harsh soap, and the sun beat down mercilessly. At 19, she looked older than her years, worn down by endless work and constant hunger. "Asha, where is my food?" Beatrice's voice had cut through the heat like a knife. She stood in the doorway of their mud brick house, hands on her hips, anger carved into her face. "Coming, Mama Beatrice," Asha had called, quickening her pace despite the water's weight. Her father sat under the baobab tree, empty beer bottles scattered around him like fallen leaves. Since Mama Ruth's death 4 years ago, he had drowned himself daily in alcohol. Asha set down the pot, served the cassava and beans she had cooked earlier, and watched Beatrice snatch the plate without thanks. David's round belly showed he had eaten meat. Beatrice always saved it for her son alone. When the sun was low, Kwame arrived from the fields. He had worked for Papa Joseph for 2 months, clearing land, planting maize, and mending the goat fence. His patched clothes hung loose, his shoes were tied with wire, but his eyes were kind. "Good evening, Papa Joseph," he said, removing his worn cap. "I have finished clearing the west field as you asked." "Finished? Good, good," Papa Joseph had muttered, barely looking up. "About my payment," Kwame said, respectful but firm. "It has been 2 months now." Papa Joseph's laugh was bitter. "What payment? You think money grows on trees in this dust bowl?" "But we agreed on 5,000 shillings per month. My mother is sick in Kampala and needs medicine." Beer slurred Joseph's words. "I give you food. I give you shelter. When it rains, what more do you want?" "I want what you promised to pay me," Kwame replied. That was when Joseph's eyes fell on Asha, who was washing dishes by the pump. The cruel smile spread, and the words that changed her life forever left his mouth. That night, Asha lay on her thin mat in the kitchen, staring at the ceiling. David crept in just before midnight, his small body shaking. "Sister Asha, where are you going?" "I am going to the city with Kwame." "Will you come back?" She closed her eyes. "I do not know, little brother. I will miss you." "I will miss you too. Promise me you'll be strong and study hard." "I promise." At dawn, she wrapped her few possessions, 2 dresses, a photo of her mother, and the wooden bracelet Mama Ruth had given her in an old cloth. David stood behind the house, trying to be brave, tears streaming down his cheeks as he waved goodbye. No one else came to see her off. Not Papa Joseph, already drunk again. Not Beatrice, watching from the window with cold satisfaction. Only David, crying and waving, until she and Kwame disappeared down the red dust road. Asha gripped the edge of the seat as the Matatu bus rattled forward, each bump carrying her farther from the only life she had ever known. Behind her lay the red dust, the cracked earth, and the father who had traded her away. Ahead was a city she had never seen, with a man she barely knew. She pressed her face to the cracked window, watching the acacia trees and termite hills shrink until they disappeared entirely. The bus was crowded, voices loud, babies crying, and chickens squawking from wicker baskets wedged between the seats. Kwame sat beside her, silent, his weathered hands folded in his lap. Every few minutes, his eyes shifted to her, heavy with a weight she could almost feel. "Where are we going?" she asked, as another small town blurred past. "Mombasa," he replied. "I have found work there. A security job at a big house near the ocean." The ocean. Asha had heard about it from passing traders, a body of water so vast it seemed endless, but it had always sounded like something from a dream. The 6-hour journey wound through green hills and busy cities. So many cars, so many people moving quickly in every direction. The noise was sharp and constant after the quiet of village life. When they finally reached Mombasa, the air felt different. Heavy and salty, filled with scents she couldn't name. Kwame hailed a tuk-tuk, and they bounced through narrow streets lined with weathered buildings that seemed to have been standing for centuries. They stopped before a tall blue and white gate. A small window slid open, and a guard's face appeared. "Kwame, you have arrived?" "Yes, we are here." The gate swung open to reveal a green courtyard. Neat lawns broke up stone walkways, palm trees swayed gently in the breeze, and at the center stood a white house so grand it made Asha stop in her tracks. "Welcome to Bahari House," Kwame said, catching her awed expression. He led her past the main house to a smaller building hidden behind flowering bushes. Inside were 2 rooms, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom with running water. Compared to the mud floors and pit latrines she had always known, it felt like a palace. "This is where we will live," Kwame said, setting his bag down. "The owner, Mrs. Khadija, is kind. She lets me stay here while I work nights." Asha looked at the clean white walls, the bed with a real mattress, the small table and chairs. Her throat tightened, and tears filled her eyes. "You do not like it?" Kwame asked, frowning. "It is small, I know. But—" "No," Asha whispered. "It is beautiful. I have never slept in a real bed before." That evening, Kwame cooked rice and fish on the small gas stove. The warm smell filled the room as they ate together. "Asha," he said, his voice quiet, "your father may have given you to me like property, but I do not see you that way. You are free here, free to make your own choices." She looked up from her plate, surprised. "I know you are afraid," he went on. "You do not know me, and you have seen how cruel men can be. But I promise, I will never hurt you. I will never force you into anything." "Then why did you take me?" she asked. Kwame paused. "Because if I had not, your father would have given you to someone else, someone who might not have been so kind. At least this way, you have a chance for something better." That night, Kwame spread a blanket on the floor and left the bed for her. Asha lay awake, listening to the sound of waves in the distance, wondering how her life could change so completely in a single day. The cry of seabirds woke Asha. For a moment she thought she was still in Kibira, but the air smelled of salt, and the sound of waves drifted in through the window. She remembered she was in Mombasa, in a house by the ocean, with a man who had promised never to hurt her. Kwame was already at the stove, the aroma of tea and mandazi filling the small kitchen. "Good morning," he said with a shy smile. "I hope you slept well." "I did, thank you." The simple kindness unsettled her. In her father's house, she had always been the one to wake first and serve everyone else. "Today, I will take you to meet Mrs. Khadija," he said, placing the cup before her. "She owns this house. She has been very good to me." After breakfast, they walked across the compound toward the main house. The garden was alive with flowers she had never seen, their colors almost too bright to be real. A fountain bubbled in the courtyard, its cool spray catching the morning light. Mrs. Khadija met them at the door, an elegant woman in her 50s, wrapped in a colorful kanga. Her eyes were warm, her smile lighting her whole face. "So this is the young lady you told me about," she said, taking Asha's hands. "Welcome, my dear. You are very welcome here." "Thank you, madam," Asha said softly, unsure how to address someone so grand. "Call me Mama Khadija." The woman laughed. "Come, I will show you my garden." They strolled through paths shaded by palms and lined with blossoms. Mama Khadija spoke of her travels countries far away, people from every walk of life. "I was not always wealthy," she confided as they rested by the fountain. "I grew up in a small village. Like you, education changed everything." "How?" Asha asked. "Knowledge is power, my dear. When you can read, write, and think for yourself, no one can keep you down. That is why I started a school for girls from poor families. Education is the greatest gift we can give." Something shifted in Asha's chest, a hunger that had nothing to do with food. "I only finished primary school," she admitted. "My father said education was wasted on girls." "Nonsense," Mama Khadija said firmly. "If you wish to learn, we will find a way. There are evening classes here, adult programs. Age does not matter." That afternoon, while Kwame slept before his night shift, Asha helped in Mama Khadija's office, sorting papers for the school. Her quick mind and careful work did not go unnoticed. "You have a natural intelligence," Mama Khadija said. "With proper training, you could do anything you choose." Over dinner that evening, Asha told Kwame about the conversation. "She says I could go to evening school, learn computers, English, business skills." "That sounds wonderful," Kwame said, smiling. "You should do it. But what about you? Who will take care of the house?" "Asha, you are not my servant. You are my friend. If you want to study, then study. I will support whatever makes you happy." His words stunned her. In her village, men decided everything. Here was someone urging her to dream. "Why are you so kind to me?" she asked. Kwame's gaze dropped to his hands. "Because I know what it feels like to be treated badly. My father died when I was young. My stepfather made my life hell. I ran away at 16, slept on the streets, begged for food. I know what it means to have nothing and no one." "Is that why you worked in the villages?" "I was trying to earn enough to bring my mother to the city for treatment. She has been sick for years. The doctors in Kampala can help her, but it costs more than I can make quickly." Tears stung Asha's eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." "It's not your fault. Life is hard for people like us, but maybe, if we help each other, it can be a little easier." That night, Asha lay in bed, thinking about his words, about Mama Khadija's offer, and about the ocean she had yet to see but could hear calling. For the first time in her life, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, her future could be her own. Asha was alone when the knock came. The morning sun streamed through the small kitchen, but her peace shattered at the sound. Through the gate's bars, a young woman stood with a baby on her back, shifting nervously. "Excuse me," the woman said. "Are you the girl staying with Kwame?" "Yes," Asha replied cautiously. "I am Asha. Who are you?" "I am Fatima. I work for Mama Khadija in the main house. She sent me to ask if you would like to come with me today. She has something to show you." Only minutes earlier, Asha had been sipping tea in the little garden behind their quarters, the quiet interrupted only by birdsong. Kwame was already at his day job, loading trucks at the port to earn extra money for his mother's treatment. It had been the most peaceful morning she'd known in years. Now, curiosity pushing her forward, she dressed quickly and followed Fatima. They passed the main house, turning toward a smaller building Asha hadn't noticed before. From inside came the bright sound of children's voices. "This is Mama Khadija's school," Fatima explained. "She teaches girls who cannot afford regular school." Inside, 20 young girls sat on mats, bent over books and writing tablets. At the blackboard stood Mama Khadija, teaching English words in her warm, confident voice. "Perfect timing," she said when she saw Asha. "Girls, this is my friend Asha. She will be joining our afternoon classes." Asha froze. Could she really go back to school at 19? "But I have no money for fees," she whispered. "Child," Mama Khadija said firmly, "the only fee here is your willingness to learn. Come, sit with the others." For 3 hours, Asha drank in knowledge, like rain after drought. She practiced English conversation, learned basic computer skills on 2 old laptops, and tackled business mathematics. Her mind, starved for years, soaked it all in. During break, she spoke with the other girls. Some were from poor city families. Others had fled villages to escape early marriage or abuse. Each had found refuge in Mama Khadija's kindness. "She saved my life," said Amina. "My father wanted to marry me to a man old enough to be my grandfather. Mama Khadija took me in, but only if I promised to study." "She does this for many girls," Zara added. "Some now work in offices downtown. One even runs her own jewelry business." Asha felt something stir deep inside a dream she had never dared to dream. By evening, her head was spinning with possibility. Back at the quarters, Kwame looked up from the couch, exhaustion softening into a smile. "How was school?" "Amazing, Kwame. I learned so much. Did you know you can use computers to talk to people anywhere in the world? And Mama Khadija says that if I study hard, I could get a certificate for a real job." Kwame's eyes lit with pride. "That is wonderful, Asha. I am proud of you." "There's more," she said, sitting beside him. "Mama Khadija wants to pay me a small salary to help teach the younger students. She says I explain things clearly." "You should do it." "But that means I could help pay for your mother's treatment." Kwame stared at her. "You would do that?" "She is sick and needs help. You've been kind to me. It's only right." Tears welled in his eyes. "Asha, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll let me help." "Of course. But keep some money for yourself too, for books, clothes, small comforts." That night, as she prepared for bed, Asha felt something she hadn't known since her mother died. A deep, steady lightness. She had purpose. She had hope. She had a future that belonged to her. 3 months had turned Asha's life into something unrecognizable. Each day, she learned more how to type on a computer, balance accounts, speak English fluently enough to hold conversations with tourists who visited the school. Her hunger for knowledge seemed endless, and even Mama Khadija was amazed by her progress. Her small salary for teaching the younger girls grew as more students joined. Soon, Mama Khadija entrusted her with managing school records and supplies. "You have a natural head for business," she told Asha one afternoon. "Have you ever thought of starting something of your own?" "Like what?" "You sew beautifully," Mama Khadija said. "I've seen how you mend Kwame's clothes with such care. You have an eye for color and design. Tourists love authentic African crafts." Asha's hand stilled over the papers she was sorting. "You think I could make money from sewing?" "I think you could make a very good living. I know several shop owners who are always looking for quality handmade items." That evening, on their small veranda, the ocean breeze carried the scent of jasmine as Asha shared the idea with Kwame. "I've been thinking about what Mama Khadija suggested starting a sewing business." Kwame looked up from his fish stew. "What would you need?" "A better sewing machine, good fabric, and maybe a small space to work." "How much?" "I've calculated about 30,000 shillings. Kwame was quiet for a moment. "I've been saving for my mother's treatment. I almost have enough. But if we combine your savings with mine—" "No," Asha cut in. "Your mother comes first. Asha, listen to me. If you start this business and it works, you'll earn the money back quickly. You could still help my mother and have plenty left over. But what if it fails?" Kwame reached across the table, taking her hand. "Then we start again. But I don't think you will fail. You work harder than anyone I know. You're smart, creative, determined. If anyone can make this work, it's you." Her eyes filled with tears. "You believe in me that much?" "I believe in you more than you believe in yourself." The next morning they went to Old Town's market. Narrow streets brimmed with shops, the air thick with the scent of spices. Fabrics in colors that seemed to glow under the sun hung in every doorway. Craftsmen shaped silver, wood, and leather, with skill passed down for generations. They found a small shop run by Mr. Patel, an elderly Indian man with keen eyes. His shelves overflowed with fabric cotton soft as clouds, silk shimmering like water, prints that told stories in color. "You want to start sewing business?" he asked. "Let me see your work." Asha handed him a small embroidered bag she had made from scraps, a design her mother had taught her. "Mister?" Patel studied every stitch. "Very good, very professional," he said. "I will give you credit for your first order. Pay me back when you sell." Asha stared. "Why trust me? You don't even know me." "I've been in business 40 years, he said with a smile. "I know talent when I see it, and Mama Khadija told me you might come. She vouches for you." They returned to Bahari House with fabric, thread, and hope. Mama Khadija had cleared a small room beside the school for Asha's workshop. The afternoon light streamed through its windows, perfect for sewing. That night, Asha sat at the machine, starting her first creation as a business owner, a traditional Kenyan dress in brilliant blue and gold, the neckline adorned with delicate beadwork. Her hands moved in the rhythm her mother had taught her, each stitch a promise. David would soon begin secondary school. She had been sending money for his fees through a friend who would not tell Papa Joseph where it came from. His education was the most important investment she could make. Under the glow of the lamp, with the moon rising over the Indian Ocean, Asha worked late into the night, stitching not just fabric, but the future she was determined to create. The blue and gold dress sold before the day was over. Asha had barely set it on the table at the craft market near Fort Jesus when a German tourist stopped, tracing the intricate beadwork with her fingertips. "This is beautiful," the woman murmured, and without bargaining handed over triple what Asha had hoped to earn. By nightfall, word had spread among the tour guides. There was a new seamstress in Mombasa, making work as fine as anything in the city. Within a month, orders crowded her small table faster than she could fill them. The workshop stayed busy from morning until the lamps burned low. "This is how businesses grow," Mama Khadija told her one afternoon as they sipped tea in the garden. The scent of blooming jasmine carried on the breeze. "You start small, reinvest your profits, hire good people, and expand carefully." Asha took her advice. Soon, 4 young women worked beside her, each with a gift of her own. Amina's beadwork glimmered like sunlight on water. Zara's embroidery flowed like painted vines. Fatima could shape leather into handbags that seemed to breathe life. And Halima turned discarded bottle tops and wires into jewelry tourists fought to buy. The workshop hummed with conversation and laughter. Needles flashed in the light, beads rattled into shallow bowls, and scissors whispered through cloth. It was the family Asha had never had sisters bound not by blood, but by shared dreams. "I never thought I could earn my own money," Amina said one afternoon, leaning over a skirt heavy with beadwork for a boutique hotel. "Men always told me I was only good for cooking and having babies." "Me too," Zara replied, smiling without looking up. "But look at us now, businesswomen." Money began flowing in faster than Asha had imagined possible. She could send more to pay David's school fees, add to Kwame's mother's treatment fund, and still put aside savings for her own plans. Then one morning, she arrived to find the workshop's padlock broken. Inside, several finished pieces were gone, and Fatima stood pale, staring at beadwork she had spent weeks on, now slashed and ruined. "Who would do this?" she whispered. Mama Khadija arrived moments later, her face darkening. "I may know. There's a man named Hassan who runs a similar business. He's been asking questions about you, spreading talk that you're stealing customers from established traders. But I'm not doing anything wrong," Asha said, her voice tight. "Success often breeds jealousy, my dear," Mama Khadija replied softly. "Some would rather tear others down than build themselves up." That afternoon, as Asha sat in the quiet workshop, Kwame arrived with an energy she hadn't seen in days. "I've been talking to Mr. Omar at the port," he said. "He knows exporters who send African crafts to Europe and America. He wants to see your work." Her eyes widened. "Really?" Really? If you can secure a contract, you won't just sell to tourists, you'll sell to the whole world. The meeting was set for the following week. For days, Asha prepared her finest pieces, rehearsing her pitch in English, steadying her hands against the thought of failing. "What if I say something wrong?" she asked Kwame the night before. "You won't," he said. "No one knows your work better than you. Just be yourself." Mr. Omar was a tall, silver-haired man whose hands lingered on each garment, weighing it, turning it, studying every bead and stitch. "Excellent work," he said at last. "I can offer a contract for 100 pieces per month to start. Keep the quality high, and we'll increase the order." Her hand shook as she signed. The ink seemed to shimmer on the paper. Her first export contract, worth more in a month than her father had made in a year of farming. That evening, she and Kwame celebrated with dinner at a restaurant high above the ocean. Below them, waves broke against the rocks in white foam as the sun sank in a blaze of gold and violet. "I want to tell you something," she said as they walked along the sand afterward, her bare feet sinking into the cool tide line. "When my father gave me to you, I thought my life was over. I thought you'd be cruel, like him, and that I'd spend my days as a servant with no hope." Kwame turned toward her. "And now?" "Now I see that the worst day of my life was actually the beginning of the best thing that ever happened to me." She took his hands. "You gave me freedom. You gave me the chance to become who I was meant to be." "You did that yourself," he said. "I just tried not to stand in your way." "You did more. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You supported my dreams even when it meant putting aside your own needs." The waves hissed at their feet as the last light faded. "Kwame," she said quietly, "I want to ask you something." "Anything." "Will you marry me?" His eyes widened. "Asha? I know it's not traditional for the woman to ask, but nothing about us has been traditional. We built a life on respect and kindness, not obligation. Are you sure this is what you want?" "I have never been more sure." Kwame pulled her into his arms, the taste of salt air between them. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." The wedding preparations began the moment Kwame said yes. Mama Khadija offered her garden, promising it would be filled with flowers and music. The girls from the workshop declared they would make the dress and all the decorations themselves. Laughter and plans filled the days. Then, without warning, the air shifted. Papa Joseph appeared at the gates of Bahari House one hot morning, his voice already rough with drink. "Where is my daughter?" he barked, swaying slightly. "Where is the girl who belongs to me?" The sound reached Asha in her workshop. Her stomach knotted instantly. Old fear has a way of remembering its place. She stepped outside and saw him older, thinner, his clothes stained, his eyes red and restless. "Papa," she said, careful, steady. "Why have you come?" "Why?" His laugh was bitter. "I hear you're living like a queen. Money in your hands, getting married. And what about me? What about the man who raised you?" "You mean the man who traded me away to pay a debt?" "I gave you to a good man. Look how it worked out. You owe me for that." Kwame moved to her side. His jaw was tight. "You need to leave, Papa Joseph. Asha owes you nothing." "Nothing? I am her father. Everything she has belongs to me by right." "The only right you had as a father." Mama Khadija's voice cut through the air like a blade. "You threw away when you sold her like property. Leave now, or I call the police." Joseph's eyes darted between them, calculating. "Fine, but this is not over. I will be back with the elders. We'll see what the law says about ungrateful daughters." When he left, Asha sank onto a garden bench, her hands trembling. What if he's right? What if traditional law says I belong to him? "Child," Mama Khadija said, her tone steady but kind, "traditional law also says a father should protect and nurture his daughter. Joseph broke that first." 3 days later, he returned. This time, 2 village elders walked beside him, and a man in a pressed suit introduced himself as a lawyer. "We have come to collect what is owed," the man announced. By customary law, this young woman's earnings belong to her family. She must return to the village and contribute her income. By actual law, Mama Khadija replied calmly, Asha is an adult. She owes her father nothing. A crowd gathered: neighbors, workshop girls, passers-by. Asha stood at the center, her heart pounding, but her spine straight. Asha, Joseph said, slipping into the syrupy tone he used when he wanted something. I am your father. I love you. Come home and take care of your family. She looked him in the eye. What about David? Is he still in school? Joseph's gaze faltered. School is expensive. The boy helps with the farm now. Her breath caught. She had been sending money for David's education. You took the money for his school fees. I used it for family needs. You used it for alcohol. The elders shifted uncomfortably. One, Mzee Okello, stepped forward. His voice was slow, deliberate. Joseph, is it true you gave this girl away to pay a debt? Joseph hesitated. It was a business arrangement. And is it true she sent money for the boy's schooling? Money you spent elsewhere? Silence. Mzee Okello turned to Asha. Child, your mother would be proud. You owe this man nothing. But if you choose to help your brother, that is your kindness to give. The man in the suit quietly disappeared into the crowd. Joseph was left alone, his bluster gone. Asha's voice was clear. David will attend boarding school in the city. He'll live here with us and get a proper education. But you, Papa Joseph, you will never see another shilling from me unless you stop drinking and act like the father you should have been. Joseph's mouth opened, but Okello's gaze silenced him. The child has spoken wisely, the elder said. Accept her terms, or leave with nothing. Joseph looked around, finding no sympathy. His shoulders sagged. I will consider it. There's nothing to consider, Asha replied. Take it or leave it. For a moment, father and daughter stared at each other. The cowering girl who once washed his dishes was gone. Before him stood a woman who owned her life. I will try to do better, he said. Trying is not enough. Doing is what matters. When he left, Asha felt a weight lift from her chest. Kwame pulled her close. You stood up to him like a lioness. David deserves better than what I had. That evening she called her brother. His voice had deepened with age, but the warmth was the same. Sister Asha, Papa said you might bring me to the city for school. Would you like that, little brother? More than anything, I want to learn computers like you did. Maybe I can help with your business someday. Asha smiled through her tears. I would like that very much. The matatu screeched to a halt in a cloud of dust and exhaust. A tall, lanky boy stepped off, clutching a small plastic bag with all his worldly belongings. His arms and legs seemed too long for his body, like a young giraffe finding its footing. Then he saw her. Sister! David's voice cut through the noise of the station. He sprinted toward Asha and nearly knocked her backward with the force of his hug. Look at you, she laughed, holding him tight. You'll be taller than me before the year ends. Kwame had arranged a place for David at one of the best secondary schools in Mombasa. Back at Bahari House, they had prepared a small room just for him. When David stepped inside, his eyes widened. Is this really mine? His voice carried disbelief. It's like a palace. It's your home now, Asha said, for as long as you want it. David adapted to city life as though it had been waiting for him all along. He attacked his studies with quiet intensity, earning top marks in mathematics and science. In the evenings, he joined Asha in the workshop, learning to operate the sewing machines and keeping neat, precise records of fabric and orders. You have a head for numbers, Mama Khadija remarked one afternoon, watching him calculate materials for a bulk order. Ever think about studying business or accounting? David didn't hesitate. I want to help Sister Asha grow the company. We could open shops in other cities, maybe even in other countries. Pride swelled in Asha's chest. She recognized that spark. It was the same one she had found. The wedding planning continued, alongside the company's growth. Asha now employed 12 girls, with export contracts in 3 countries and a small shop in the tourist district where visitors could watch the craftswomen work. Then, one morning, a woman arrived at the workshop, asking for Asha by name. She had kind eyes, hands worn from years of labor, and a familiar grace in her posture. "Are you Asha who used to live in Kibira?" "Yes." "And you are?" "I am Mary, Kwame's mother." The name landed like a heartbeat. This was the woman whose illness had sent Kwame into the world, whose need for medicine had begun the chain of events that led them here. Asha's breath caught. "Mama Mary. But how are you here? I thought you were still in Kampala." Mary's eyes shone. "Thanks to my son and his generous wife-to-be, I received my treatment. The doctors say I am cured. I came to thank you and meet the woman who holds my son's heart." They embraced, a meeting of women who knew the weight of survival. "You saved my life," Mary said. "Kwame told me you gave your own earnings to help me, though we had never met." "You are Kwame's mother. That makes you my mother too." Mary stayed for the wedding. She took to David immediately, filling his evenings with stories of Kwame's childhood and teaching him recipes from their home region. The workshop had grown into more than a business. It was a place where young women reclaimed futures they'd been told they could not have. Some stayed on as employees. Others left to open their own small businesses, armed with skills and confidence. "You're changing lives," Mama Khadija told Asha one afternoon, watching new students practice embroidery. "It started with you," Asha replied. "No, my dear," Mama Khadija smiled. "It started with you deciding not to stop learning. I only opened the door. You walked through it." As the wedding drew closer, thoughts of her mother returned often. Ruth had died believing her daughter's life would be one of service and struggle. She could never have imagined her little girl running a business, teaching others, and being loved so deeply. One evening, Asha worked late on a special order. The shop was quiet except for the hum of her sewing machine. Then, a faint trace of jasmine, her mother's perfume, drifted into the air. She paused, her hands stilling on the fabric. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered, "for teaching me to be strong." The air seemed warmer, her heart lighter. She knew what she had always believed: love never disappears. It changes shape, becoming the very strength that carries you forward. The morning of the wedding broke in a wash of gold, the kind of light photographers chase but can never quite bottle. Bahari House's garden had been remade into something from a storybook white fabric draped between swaying palms, blossoms in shades of red and gold spilling from every corner. In her small room, Asha woke before the house stirred. Through the open window, she saw David and Kwame stringing lights, Mama Mary directing them with calm, decisive gestures. The sight wrapped her in quiet contentment. Her dress hung by the bed like a promise, ivory silk, its gold embroidery tracing ancient African patterns across a modern silhouette. The beadwork, Amina's careful, star-like stitches, caught the light and held it. Fatima adjusted her veil, a delicate heirloom Mama Mary had worn decades earlier. "You look like a queen," Fatima murmured. "I feel like one," Asha said, startled by the truth of it. By midday, guests began to arrive. The workshop girls came in bright dresses, their families proud beside them. Mr. Patel and his wife carried gifts of fine fabric for Asha's trousseau. Mr. Omar arrived with business colleagues, curious to meet the young woman whose craft had traveled across borders. From farther away came the most humbling visitors, Mzee Okello and 3 village elders from Kibira, their journey long but purposeful. Even Papa Joseph appeared, sober, clean, and holding a small wrapped package. He found Asha as she greeted guests, beneath the shade of a frangipani. "My daughter," he began softly, "I have brought you something." She unwrapped the box, polished wood, carved with her mother's initials. Inside lay Ruth's wedding ring, a few photographs, and a folded letter addressed in her mother's steady hand, "To my beloved daughter, Asha." Her fingers trembled as she read. Words of love, hope, and quiet faith spilled from the page, dreams for her daughter's life, belief in her strength, blessings for whatever path she chose. She knew, Asha whispered, tears sliding unchecked. Somehow, she knew I'd be all right. Joseph's eyes glistened. She always believed in you, even when I didn't. I am sorry, Asha, for everything. She closed the box gently. I forgive you, Papa. We can't change what's behind us, but we can choose what's ahead. The ceremony was simple, but steeped in meaning. Beneath an arch of bougainvillea, Kwame waited in a tailored suit, David proud at his side as best man. Mama Khadija, licensed to officiate, stood ready to marry them. When Asha appeared on Isi Okello's arm, the garden drew in a collective breath. She walked with the ease of someone who knew her worth. Their vows were their own promises, not of possession, but of partnership. I promise to see you truly, Kwame said, and to celebrate your dreams as if they were my own. I promise to trust you with my heart, Asha replied, and to build with you a love that lifts us higher than either could rise alone. They sealed their words with a kiss, and the garden erupted cheers, ululations, and petals cascading from the trees. The workshop girls tossed roses they'd gathered that morning. The celebration spilled into evening. Drums and guitars wove through the air. David played a song he'd written for his sister. Mama Mary led the women in wedding songs older than memory. Even Mr. Patel, to everyone's delight, spun into quick-footed Bollywood steps, drawing laughter and applause. Later, when the music softened and the guests began to drift away, Asha and Kwame found themselves alone under the jasmine-scented night. Do you remember, Kwame said, the first night you asked why I was kind to you? I remember. I told you it was because I knew what it felt like to have nothing, but that wasn't the whole truth. She searched his face. What was the truth? The truth was that from the moment I saw you at your father's house, I knew you were extraordinary. I saw strength, even when you couldn't. You saw all that in a girl washing dishes? I saw a woman unbroken, no matter how hard life tried. And I knew I wanted to spend my life with her. Asha smiled, leaning into him. From the moment you promised not to hurt me, my heart began to heal. From the moment you encouraged my dreams, my soul began to soar. They danced in the quiet, until the last lantern winked out. The waves whispered against the shore, beyond the garden. And there, under a sky of stars, they stepped together into the first night of their new life. 5 years after the wedding, Asha stood on the balcony of her new office building, looking out over the bustling streets of Mombasa. The Asha Crafts logo gleamed on the side of the 4-story building that housed her company's headquarters, main workshop, retail store, and training center. The business had grown beyond her wildest dreams. She now employed more than 100 women across 3 cities, exporting to 12 countries and operating retail outlets in Nairobi, Kampala, and Dar es Salaam. But more than the commercial success, she was proud of the lives that had been transformed through her training programs. Mama Asha, a voice called from below. She looked down to see Amina waving from the courtyard, surrounded by a group of new students. Amina now managed the entire Nairobi operation and had become like a sister to her. Inside, the original workshop girls had become department heads and trainers. Zara ran the design studio, Fatima managed exports, and Halima had developed an entire line of eco-friendly jewelry that was selling internationally. Each brought their own innovations and perspectives to the growing company. David, now 18 and tall as a baobab tree, was finishing his final year of secondary school with top honors. He had been accepted to study business administration at the University of Nairobi, with plans to eventually join the company as a full partner. "Sister," he said, appearing in her office doorway, "the reporter from Business Daily is here for your interview." Asha smoothed her hair and checked her reflection in the window. The confident businesswoman looking back at her would be unrecognizable to the frightened girl who had once washed dishes in a dusty village. But the eyes were the same, determined, kind, and filled with dreams. The interview went well. The reporter asked about her expansion plans and her philosophy of combining profit with social impact. Asha spoke with conviction about creating opportunities for young women across East Africa to develop skills and start their own businesses. What would you say to other young women who feel trapped by poverty or family circumstances? The reporter asked. I would tell them that your beginning does not determine your ending, Asha said. Education and hard work can overcome almost any obstacle. Asking for help is not weakness, it is wisdom. Later that afternoon, she made her weekly visit to Mama Khadija, now in her 70s but still sharp as a needle. The original girls' school had grown into a full secondary school with over 300 students, partially funded by profits from Asha's business. I have news, Mama Khadija said, as they sipped tea in her garden. The Education Ministry wants to use our model to establish similar schools in 10 other regions. They are calling it the Khadija Asha Initiative. Asha nearly dropped her teacup. They want to name it after both of us? Why not? You have shown that education and entrepreneurship can transform entire communities. It is only right. That evening, she walked home through the streets of Mombasa, marveling at how much had changed. The small apartment she and Kwame once shared seemed like another lifetime. They now lived in a beautiful house near the ocean, with a garden where Mama Mary grew vegetables and herbs, and space for David to study and host friends. Kwame met her at the gate, still handsome in his security uniform, but now head of security for a major hotel chain. His mother's health had stayed strong, and she had become the unofficial grandmother to all the young women who worked for Asha Crafts. How was your day? He asked, kissing her cheek as they walked toward the house. Incredible, but I have something to tell you. Good news or bad news? The best news, she said, taking his hand and placing it gently on her still flat stomach. We are going to have a baby. Kwame stopped in his tracks. Really? Really. The doctor confirmed it this morning. He let out a joyful shout that brought David running from inside and Mama Mary from the garden. When they heard the news, the celebration that followed could have been heard 3 streets away. That night, lying in bed with the sound of waves drifting through the window, Asha thought about the journey that had brought her here. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if your father hadn't traded you to me? Kwame asked quietly. Sometimes, but then I remember everything happens for a reason. If I had stayed in Kibira, I would never have met Mama Khadija. I would never have learned that I could be more than just someone's servant. I would never have discovered that I had the power to change not just my own life, but the lives of others. Do you think our child will understand how lucky they are? They will understand that they are loved, that education is precious, and that with privilege comes responsibility to help others. She placed her hand over Kwame's on her stomach, imagining the life growing inside her. This child would never know hunger or fear, but they would know the value of hard work, the importance of kindness, and the power of dreams to shape the future. In the distance, night fishermen prepared their boats for the dawn catch. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities, more young women to train, more businesses to mentor, more lives to touch with hope. The girl who had once been traded away like a goat had become a woman who created value wherever she went. The scared child who had left Kibira with nothing but a cloth bundle had built an empire that lifted others as she climbed. As sleep came, Asha smiled at the thought of her mother watching with pride. Ruth's daughter had not just survived, she had thrived. She had created pathways for others to follow. The little girl who once cried over dishes by lamplight was now a beacon of hope for an entire generation. And this was only the beginning of the legacy she would leave behind. The red dust of Kibira was just a memory, but the strength it had forged in her would last forever. From poverty to possibility, from despair to dreams fulfilled, Asha's life proved that no beginning is too humble, no dream too big, and no obstacle too great for a determined heart. And they lived with purpose ever after, using their blessings to bless others, proving that the most powerful stories are the ones we choose to write with our own lives. The end. If Asha's journey touched your heart, please share this story so her message of hope can reach even more people. Your share might inspire someone who needs to hear that no beginning is too small and no dream too far. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment and let me know which part of Asha's story stayed with you the most. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Every like, comment, and share helps keep these stories alive and helps them reach the people who need them most. Thank you for watching and for being part of this storytelling journey.